Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the College Cop Provo stream. We have the number 3 match of the day set up, and it's going to be the CSUN Matadors up against the University of Wyoming squad. So this is going to be interesting. Both teams still in the bottom cut of their standings, but they're fighting to be in the orange, to be a little bit higher up in it, a little bit safer moving into these playoffs, and hoping to have a better seed into the regulation.
Yeah, I mean, this is a stage where these guys, I mean, they're not exactly fighting for that top cut like we just saw, but overall, these teams obviously don't want to be in those elimination areas. They don't want to be stuck in those kind of areas where they're going to get shut out, where they're not going to be competing anymore. Everybody wants a little couple more weeks, rock out that funds they allocate to this and find a way to, at least get some hope and, refine their skills a little bit more for another week or so. So, I mean, plus anything could happen going forward, and that's exactly what we're looking for. So overall, I mean, just looking at these two teams and the things we got lined up, and especially with these matchups, seeing a lot of Moscow and thankfully an Express. But, that's only if we get around to it, because looking at these two teams and looking at the standings for Moscow, I mean, it seems, as you kind of pointed out before we got into this, that it could be kind of one-sided when it comes around to that map.
The University of Wyoming looks so good right now on Moscow. So these first two maps, I'm looking at them to just blow this out of proportion. Them being in the standing that they're being, they got to come out hot. If the Matadors want anything, if they take one of these two maps out of Wyoming's hands, that is going to tell the tale of this kind of series at that. But we are in this Moscow hard point now. Point 1 being a little bit contested. Iguana dancing around, shake and bake. Gonna find him. A nice conversion of 2. Mid-map control all the way to the CSUN Matadors. But here you go. The King Craig in hand. And Dazzle
yes,
only able to find 1.
I love the King Craig. I gotta say, I love that camo so much. But, look at these two teams. I'm sure also CSUN's loving this early lead they're getting right here. I mean, Wyoming, obviously, they've had the upper hand coming into this. But if they find a way to go ahead and slip up here in the beginning, obviously getting this hold down, CSUN, and this time around, at this kind of point, they need to start looking at these rotations, finding a way to get in this different area of the map, go ahead and get set up for that P2. Even though it's so close to P1, they have to go ahead and get set up. We see Dr. Depression already getting ready for this setup, finding a way and possibly being able to square it with Yeti right here and close that out. Not getting picked off, but getting clipped up right there. That's a shame.
Yeti. What a shot from himself, and he's gonna even find the second one. They lock down these points, this point 2 so far. Dazzle, shaky shots on a Dr. Depression. Ups right back top police station, and this time Yeti's not able to find him. Still collecting time though is Wyoming. Matador is unable to break this just yet. Finally, through screens, they get the break. They hop on point, but flooding in is gonna be Wyoming to take this on back. You got Arctos able to find 1. They get this to them off the point, but shake and bake, trying to make it happen. Switches to the Diamante, but just can't find this player.
Right there. I mean, overall, we see Yeti once again probably going to line up with shake and bake here. He's the sole survivor right now and really trying to push into this site. And I mean, CSUN, this is exactly what they're looking for. They're locking these guys out here on this site, trying to get the scrap time, rotating a little bit late here, which is going to be pretty detrimental for them going forward, because looking at how Wyoming, how they're used to this map, how well they had the flow so far, you see these guys spread out pretty well, already setting up on these spawns, getting these guys area. We see even Yeti back there just kind of camping it out, settling himself down, getting these spawns held as best as possible, and just locking this out. And if he can win these engagements, I'm sure going forward, Wyoming, they're going to have a free shot at this whole site possibly.
Yeti's getting pressured, but he's staying strong. Shake and Bake's not going to turn to him, so converts to 2. Nobody collecting time as Wyoming does get bodied off of it, but Solution takes their place. Yeti tries to beam him off in the flood. He's going to look to help him out. A great contention from Arctos right now. The pinch comes through from Matadors, and they overwhelm this point so far.
Man, what a great push from those guys. I mean, just right there up front, how they sat there and pushed. Even though you had those 2 guys losing there in the back, I mean, you had the other 2 finding their way onto that site, getting that retaliation, finding a way to just, utilize that site, get that push. Because overall, when we see CSUN, I mean, we see these guys not exactly being able to put these stats, but, I mean, overall, we see their stat line right now. I mean, regardless of how the resume is looking, I mean, their current sitting and how they're sitting and how well they're competing against Wyoming right now, I mean, they're obviously showing that they're not going to be shut out by any means necessary.
Definitely not in that, but right now, Wyoming getting some good time at the moment on this P4. Gets caught out from Dr. Depression on the back of Boulevard and converts for 2 and a nice double kill. Shake and Bake on site taking this time. Worries about Razzle Dazzle, takes him out. Nobody gathering time right now as Matadors finally hop on this point. Dr. Depression right now on a 5 spree, playing for streaks. He's got to worry about this. If they get streaks on Moscow, might be able to break open some of these big money hills like P2, P3.
Yeah, I mean, right now, these guys had to start looking at this rotation, and we see Shake and Bake finally looking for it, because this is where the whole thing kind of resets. You get back to that P1, you go back to the square, you see these guys duking it out right here. And Dr. Depression obviously holding the outside, but when you're sitting right here on P1, there's not going to be too much influence over there on the outside. It seems as if he's more just kind of waiting for a solution out here to bring in the solution, and he's going to at that double. Overall, just finally finding a way to get onto this site. You make some kind of a push, but not able to capitalize on it, which is really going to be detrimental to these guys because they're giving them a 30-point heads up.
And Shake and Bake runs on in there, but Yeti cuts him down. And Dr. Depression rotates all the way back to P2. I feel like he's being a little bit too worried of these streaks.
Yeah.
And I think he's just waiting a little bit too much. He's giving a little bit too much to the Wyoming squad. Now Yeti walks on in, takes out Dr. Depression. Razzle Dazzle to help him up, cleans up Solution, and just like that, with that very passive play from Dr. Depression and Shake and Bake, you lose streak progression, you lose spawns, and that's going to be very, very strong for Wyoming.
I mean, that alone, I mean, these guys, I mean, it just seems like CSUN right now, they're literally just fighting for scraps. They're not getting ahead of the cut. I feel like to actually get some kind of shift in momentum to finally give these guys a heads up and get another lead, which they haven't found since that P1 right there at the start of the game with those initial 12 seconds. I mean, that alone, they need to find something here to work for them, and they're just not rotating quick enough for it. They need to find a way to sit there and just give up some scrap time somewhere because, I mean, overall, they're not exactly going to get enough to really give them enough to work with. They're not being behind all game isn't going to help them out. They have to go ahead and just sacrifice one of those points to find a way to get ahead and get those rotations in earlier.
A multi-kill from Yeti should give them the scrap time. You're going to have one more attempt from CSUN Matadors to break this point. At the moment, they do break it. And they lose spawns, it looks like. This is going to be a toss-up. You see number 4 and number 8 on the opposite side of the map. They're going to have a big, crucial one-on-one. It's a race for CSUN to get back there to try to pull these spawns. But if number 4 Iguana can say anything about it, might be able to rip the spawns right out from underneath them.
Jeez, and the fact that Shake and Bake was back there fighting on P2 so hard, actually, you know, buying out so many time to so many of those players, contesting that point and just going back and forth with so many guys, trying to be a one-man army. And letting Iguana just kind of infiltrate these guys, go ahead and get through there and let those spawns, you know, get traded out. I mean, it basically puts all of his work to nothing. It just doesn't allow them to actually utilize all that effort he was putting over there, and it feels like it was for nothing. So, I mean, that alone, that shows how detrimental these points are, these respawns, and allowing this time to actually be capitalized, especially with it being across the map. That could have shut these guys out at least for a solid, you know, 20, 30 seconds if they held it down well enough.
Russ around the corner. He's got the backup. Big transition from CSUN. A trade in the kill feed. Back and forth the kills on each side. Arctos, the last one in. He's got to play his life here. 11 seconds left. You have the rotation to P4. These are going to be big gunfights on the rotation. Solution. That's a huge win. It's going to give up these spawns to the CSUN Matadors. They're going to be spawning back library.
Oh, man. That alone, I mean, Dr. Depression could have had a great push right there, trying to get the flank, squeeze these guys up. But, I mean, we just don't see CSUN winning enough of these matchups, winning these gunfights, especially with Solution right there, not even winning that flank. You know, that little surprise card. I mean, these are the kinds of battles right here that if you throw them, I mean, you're just not going to have too much promise going forward in actual getting standing. These guys have obviously gotten out of the 100 club reach, but going forward, they need to hit 150 because, I mean, with Wyoming already sitting at 200, only needing 50 seconds, and with how they've had their flow going so far, I mean, this could easily be ended in these next 2 points.
Well, they're keeping CSUN off this point, so not allowing any time, really, to the red squad. Rastas is going to hop on to collect this OBJ time. Gets a little bit too aggressive. Solution catches him out. Now you're worrying about the rotation. 2 players here. Shake and Bake on screen. Goes down to Iguana. It's going to clear one side of the map. And Escalators, it looks like this is where the next player is going to be. So number 8 against number 2. Yeti's going to be watching this cross. Right in front of him. Walks into his sight lines. Transitions to the second. Shake and Bake gets burned. So he's not even going to take the gunfight to Solution. He's just going to make sure they keep these P2 spawns as the University of Wyoming blowing open this game right now on P1.
And this alone, I mean, One player we haven't really mentioned anything of, and we can exactly tell why. I mean, Razzle, he just has to step up here for Wyoming to get this a solid lead. I mean, we see everybody on CSUN. They're trying to get out there. They're going and getting these kills. They're chasing them as best as they can, and nobody's really slacking all that much. But, I mean, when you look at the likes of Wyoming, they could have such a stronger lead if they had every single guy really hands on deck. And Razzle just isn't trying hard enough here to really establish himself on the point, just kind of giving up a little bit too many deaths there, giving up too much time, and having Iguana trying to step up here, and Yeti just seeing their time split overall. There's too many guys with so much time, and they're having to, you know, kind of scramble to rotate out. And that's what CSUN could be taking advantage of right now, but I don't think they're really noticing the patterns to really give them the upper hand.
Well, even with Razzle Dazzle here, they only need 7 points to win, so it doesn't really matter at the end of it because they need 4 seconds to close out this map 1, and CSUN can't even touch down. Oh. So University of Wyoming going to take this map 1 Moscow with a hefty lead, a 100-point lead. And really off the back of Yeti and Iguana, I mean, those 2 players have been stand out and even able to do the damage that they've done. This is such a good start for the Wyoming side of the map.
Yeah, I mean, and when we really have to sit there and look at what was going on, I mean, by no means did I see CSUN slacking by any means necessary. So I don't think they should have been at that big of a deficit. That purely came down, as I mentioned earlier, 2 rotations, I believe. These guys just weren't finding a way to go ahead and get on top of things. They were letting things slip through the crack like Iguana getting those spawns flipped and, you know, literally cutting 30 seconds off, you know, possibly 40 if they sat there and got another team wipe and actually set up for that P3. I mean, that alone was super detrimental to those guys. And the fact that they lost that, I mean, that alone, you can't let that happen. And going forward, when you go into search, I mean, you can't let that happen again because that's going to be a huge issue when you only have 1 life to work with. And we're going right back to Moscow. That's not going to be something that, you know, Wyoming's going to sit there and take lightly. They're going to be trying to take advantage of that as much as possible, knowing that there's going to be some areas that are going to be kind of slacking. They're going to be kind of playing relatively together, but still kind of looking in the same direction. And when you're playing as a team, you need to be sitting there watching each other's 6, making sure the whole clock's covered. And we just didn't see enough of that out of CSUN to allow them to really show that they can really, they felt more like hounds, you know, a whole bunch of dogs just chasing the one exact direction and not exactly spreading out enough to cover all the area that needs to be in such a large map like Moscow.
Well, yeah, like you say, moving into this Moscow Search and Destroy, another thing to kind of look at is just the difference in these teams. I mean, a lot more under the belt of Wyoming. They're sitting 6-2 on this Moscow Search and Destroy, where compared to CSUN Matadors, they're 3-6. So 2 different tales for these teams completely. Yep. In the sense that if you're really kind of banking on the Matadors to pull this out, they really have to show all the stops here, like you're talking about, play a little bit more coordinated. The communication definitely wasn't there for themselves, and they weren't efficiently clearing out these spawns of the side of University of Wyoming. It's just something you have to play for. I mean, halfway through that map, you can talk about Dr. Depression on his way to streaks, wrapping all the way back around P2. Just took himself away from the fights for so long. It gave too big of a lead for Wyoming in that sense. And even still, he didn't even get those streaks. He got cleaned up by Yeti. So you got to have a little bit more communication and a little bit more confidence on the side of the Matadors.
Yeah, and even then, I mean, you mentioned communication. These guys also just had to sit there and have those peripherals kicking in. They need to be able to look at that mini map, look at their players, look at their teammates, and just know passively, sit there and recognize what direction they're looking at. Get a full coverage of the map, because otherwise, when it comes around to search and destroy, if one man gets that flanking, you're not ready for it. He can clear out 2, 3 guys alone, and that's just going to be super detrimental to your team. And that's a free round that you're technically handing in, because we saw in this last match, we saw on Checkmate, I mean, if you can sit there and pull off a flank and get all these guys covered, and especially in that game 5 that we saw in this exact same kind of environment and mode, that alone can be super detrimental and sit there and cost you a whole round. And even then going forward, sit there and mess with your confidence when you're trying to pull out a couple more rounds to sit there and get your advantage going again.
It does look like a really fast A hit and a split defense. At the moment, it's going to be a 4v2 on this site. Both players stacked towards the screens. And Arcdot's going to open up with the second transitions. God. In that, they got a full site control. They're looking for this plant.
I mean, I know I mentioned the hound thing earlier, but good. I mean, good gosh. These guys were straight just deer dogs in that case. They hunted them down. They were wolves, not dogs. just straight up opening with those 2 kills right there with that solid A push. I mean, usually you can call that out. I mean, with the fact is you only want to have one guy really there in the center or allocate over to the side because you know how popular A side is going to be usually. And with them just kind of funneling in, being so separated, and Rush just letting Solution go in there by himself, that alone just feels like this one round's going to be wrapped up by that, and especially with those 2 kills right off the bat, just choking these guys out for CSUN. I mean, that clock's only going to keep ticking and put the Russ on the clock.
Well, Russ got Yeti right here. Takes the gunfight, but Yeti's been firing on all cylinders this map. It's not going to go the way of Matadors for this retake. Strong round 1 from Wyoming. Right off the bat of this play from Arctos. Converts to Shake and Bake. The team shots were just too strong here. Big round 1.
Yeah, and I feel like, going forward, CSUN's going to have to learn their lesson for that. They're going to have to know that, maybe we shouldn't be putting that many guys over. We can sit there and retake a side if need be. Think of it like Hardpoint. Once again, we just need to be a little bit slower for the retake. If we have all the time in the world, once that bomb goes down, we can let it go down. We don't have to stop them. But in that case, we just have to be a little bit quicker to the cut. We have to make sure to retake these sites a little bit faster. And I mean, when it comes down to, we have to get those rotations, and we see Shake and Bake rotating around the square and getting a pretty easy first blood here.
Even getting away with his life. They're going to rotate back to the B side of the map. Number 2 is going to probably be the one to spot this. Arctos sitting in that half wall. But undecided what Shake and Bake wants to do with this bomb. Does look like B is going to be the site, as all 3 players without the bomb are going to be there. Arctos makes the rotation over. A lot of players from Wyoming just watching this.
All by himself, too, albeit. I mean, he's going to sit there and just get straight directed if he doesn't get caught off. But he instead gets the better hand right there.
And Razzle Dazzle around the corner. Russ is down. CSUN, nothing going for them in this round. Dr. Depression, the last one standing in this sense. Once again, Iguana's going to be on the flank, catches him out. 18 seconds to work with. They're just going to hunt him down and take him out. Wyoming with their second round on this. Looking hot on Moscow.
Oh, man. I mean, just that alone right there. I mean, I got to say, I'm seeing the connection. I mean, we saw from spectating Shake and Bake right there. I mean, at first I was like, what is he doing? It looks like he's going to be shooting his teammates for the heck of it. But I mean, he was actually, when checking that window with Dr. Depression, he was following up that shot. When he went back and saw Solution, he was checking his back right there. I mean, there is connections here, but these guys just aren't making that collective push, having that same mentality. It seems as if it's a single monumental effort on one man to sit there and be checking everybody's back, and you can't be doing that in this situation. And even then, we see these guys once again splitting up and just allowing the same thing to happen. Wyoming being not as aggressive as last time, but nonetheless getting picks here and there to get themselves the upper hand with a 3-1 lead.
Matadors stuff them out.
Oh my gosh.
Take the pressure. They back on, give some space to take some space. They find their first round on the map, and really this unchecked angle through Escalator Solution got away with murder in the back line.
I mean, that alone, man. I mean, these guys just have to find ways to just manipulate this map, play it a little bit more. I mean, overall, I mean, they got the best of them right there, but you can't sit there and let this slip up anymore. I mean, these guys are going to be sitting there sniffing this out more and more and more. And Wyoming is being a lot more adaptable. When we see their defense, we saw them rotating a lot, finding ways to, get a win as best as possible when it came around to that defense, and actually doing fairly well with getting those rotations out, sniffing these guys out, like you said, like the wolves they are. And I mean, overall, when it comes around to offense, they have to find the same thing and adapt around and play around the map. And it just seems that they're charging a little bit too much, which is, kind of being a little bit too easy to read into in this stage.
Shane Bay just waiting out of the B side. Another rotation from University of Wyoming here. You're going to be expecting this push. CSUN stopped in the courtyard. So with this fast aggression and their first pick, they've given up so much space to the B side. They're expecting it now. And if Shake and Bake gets caught out by Iguana here, it's going to drop the bomb, and that's going to be so much information, but he pushes up a little bit too far. Razzle Dazzle still comes out with a kill to even this up, and now the rotation's coming out from CSUN back to the A site. Arctos is here waiting in wake. He's going to have to turn up big with both of these players. Spots the player, and Escalators takes him down. Is he expecting the second one? No, he's not. Now it's all up to this last player in the middle of the map against Solutions. Going for the shot punch. Still comes out of it. A little bit of a weird gunfight, but tying it up is CSUN.
I mean, CSUN, obviously they're sitting there trying to buff out what just happened. These guys are giving an effort as best they can. I mean, being on the offense, they obviously have ways, or on the defense in this specific scenario, finding ways to let these guys. And Wyoming is just being a little bit too predictable at this stage, as I just kind of previously mentioned. They're being a little bit too easy about this. They're probably going to go for this A hit once again. And if they go for B, I mean, I'll be darned, because that's exactly what needs to happen for them to be throwing something out. But doing the same exact play, if CSUN finally finds the idea to say, yo, let's 3-stack A, they can have a much better chance to actually do this, because we do see Rush being the lone wolf over there on the side. And if they can go ahead and get this flank, getting this read right here, they're going to have a really quick rotation to give this upper hand.
Oh, but once again, the flank unchecked from Shake and Bake takes out Iguana. And yeah, Screens is being taken control from Arctos, but they still have to clean out this last player's solutions, and doing exactly that. 2v2. You gotta watch their flank, both Russ and Dr. Depression there. Razzle Dazzle makes the play through bricks. Takes out the first, takes out the second. University of Wyoming of a big play from Razzle Dazzle. Goes up 3-2.
I mean, this alone right here, Razzle, being the carrier in this situation. I mean, they're making it, obviously they know this A site pretty well. I mean, they've been pushing it every single time on attack. And I mean, they're playing it around a little bit more each time. And I mean, I gotta admit, it's a good start, because that alone is what's carrying them, and that's helping them enough to actually get that momentum to go forwards and get this advantage and keep it by some means. But when they're on this defense, they have to be a little bit more, you know, find a way around the map, get a little bit more better of a default. Maybe, you know, taking a note out of CSUN's, you know, playbook, spreading out a little more. We see them on this A side, but when you look around to B, that seems to be what CSUN's looking at. And this alone is what's helping them get these rounds on the board, with how well they're pushing around the map, finding a different point of view to push things for, and playing things out a little bit differently than what you would traditionally see out of most teams.
Different play right here from Razzle Dazzle. Yeti getting caught out a little bit too aggressive, but Russ getting traded out leaves it even at the best case scenario right now. Still hops in, drops the bomb in offices. Getting away with a little bit much there. Razzle Dazzle backs on through Boulevard. Victor, the last round, making some big plays here. Bombs picked up. They're going to rotate back to the middle of the map. Iguana right around this corner here. Solution walks right into him. Shaky shots, but he's able to come out on top.
Okay, I see you, Chief. All right, a little cheeky double right there. I mean, that's alone. I mean, this is what we're seeing. We've seen a lot of kind of solo plays from these guys on Wyoming, and it just seems as overall they're much better when it comes to stepping up to the plate, finding a way to get these hits here and there, and getting these doubles. I mean, we've seen 2 rounds in a row now where, I mean, they've sat in there and gotten doubles for this final kill cam, really just closing things out. I mean, and CSUN has to find ways to actually, you know, get this communication, be a little quicker to their calls, get these trades to actually allow themselves to win these gunfights and carry them around on a little bit more. Because if they don't find a way to react a little bit quicker, get these calls out, I mean, right there, getting the shots, letting them know Razzle's there, and he's a threat to not be messed around with, that's what's going to make the difference here with this round.
Oh, big wins, though, from Wyoming. 3 players already out of play for CSUN. Looking for a flawless, as Russ is the last one. He is standing against 4 Wyoming players, primed and ready to take this round. Bomb's going to go down, planted for screens. Russ gives his position away. You look at all the players on the minimap turn around. Just, they're ready for it. They're ready for whichever case it goes. Yeti's going to rotate. Expect the play from mid. And he's going to take them to map point.
I mean, it just seems like a mechanic game at this time. And when we saw the way of how you see this push right here, Doctor getting pushed up, and then Bake having to go around and then just getting closed in because the guys knew exactly where he was and was able to close in on him like that. I mean, and CSUN is just allowing this to happen. They're kind of closing themselves off, especially with that little setup right there on the outside and the inside on this A side. You're a little bit too exposed. You can exploit that a little bit too easily. And you have to, you know, play back a little bit more to have those eye lines on each other. But, I mean, they're just not doing that. They're not getting these setups to really help each other. And I got to say, a little aggressive of a start here from Yeti, and he's kind of got paid for it.
For the first time all game, Razzle Dazzle's put away that Krieg, and he's taking out the 74Us. He's expecting some aggression off defense. Arctos makes his way to the back of the map. He's last standing in a 1v3. flopped was this play from Wyoming, but a big change at that. They put the assault rifle away for Razzle Dazzle, set up for an aggressive defense. What they didn't account for was a full quad hit to offices from CSUN, as their aggression didn't meet anything until it was already too late.
I bet you Razzle's taking out that. Yeah, I knew it. He's going to take out that Craig again. He's like, okay, that didn't work. All right, but a little regroup. They have plenty of breathing room to sit there and give things another shot. I mean, I respect the curveball, finding a different way to go about things and kind of throw these guys for CSUN off for that last round. But when we look at it, I mean, everything's going to be pretty traditional here and go back to the old same old with this A hit. But CSUN actually set up a little bit differently, not stacking too hard this time around, and that could be able to cost them as they already just get wolfed out once again. I mean, it's just, they're paying too much. Razzle
Dazzle with the Krieg in hand. Gonna meet Dr. Disrespect in a second. Depression's not even taking it. Wyoming hit the map, a 1v1 and a 6-3 victory on Moscow here. Had to chase down the player and escalator with the Diamati, but still able to come out on top with the victory in the end of it.
Man, I mean, there wasn't too many reads there. I mean, I could even sit there. I mean, these guys hit just purely A so many times on offense. I mean, Wyoming did, and CSUN just didn't find a way or even register that, you know, maybe we should put more guys on there. I mean, the one time they actually did it on that round 4, they actually, you know, succeeded on that with the flank, finding ways to clip these guys off and do fairly well and get themselves back on the board and, you know, try and almost get a tie going there. But it just, when it came around to attacking, they just didn't play around enough. We saw them hit B. We saw them hit A. We didn't really see a rotate from one side to the other. It just seems as if they were too isolated there. They got clipped out. And then the rotation that could have been formed, it just didn't get around to it. And that's where CSUN, like we said earlier, the communication is just lacking. They're not clearing up these paths for each other. They're not keeping each other in mind. They're not playing like a team. They're trying to do these individual efforts. And when we look at Wyoming and how they did, we just see Razzle and Iguana just doing a lot better on these solo efforts to actually clutch things out. And it just doesn't allow themselves or the guys on CSUN to really shine on an individual effort because just Wyoming is a little bit better mechanically.
Well, we are seeing a pretty strong start to Wyoming for sure, up 2-0 in the series. Checkmate controls coming up soon, Mick, because we've seen that already once today. Well, we see the exact same. So Wyoming looking for the sweep. CSUN looking for that reverse sweep. It's all going to start coming up soon. A quick break. Quick break for now for the CCL Bravo stream. We'll be right back. The break was short, but we're back with some control, Mick, and we got this reverse sweep starting for CSUN. Can they make this map count?
I mean, they're sure hoping so. I can tell you that much. And obviously with this opener right here, they're trying to hold out as best as possible. I mean, not as well as they would want to, already being in a life deficit. I mean, but there's still plenty to go when they can sit there and get on these sites when they're already eyeing this B site. And they need to split up a little bit more this time around to actually get some points on the board.
A full wipe from CSUN. Razzle Dazzle looking for a little bit more positioning. Gets away with another one. Back behind the box. The solution, is he going to expect it? Razzle Dazzle's on fire right now. He's on 4 streak. Can he find any more? Depression right around the corner. He's got some help from Yeti, so not able to find his 5th kill. He's going to be shot up from Shake and Bake, walking around that box. Finally, CSUN breaking out of their spawn, but not able to stop this clock just yet. You're down to 24 seconds. This is not looking good off the bat for the Matadors.
Yeah, I mean, especially with looking at this time constraint these guys got going with 13 seconds left. Finally getting here on the point. And I mean, you know, Wyoming can and probably will rotate at this time. But just seeing how they're winning these gunfights and how CSUN isn't stacking hard enough on these points to get the time quick enough, it seems as if they're just trying to burn out this time and let their lives deteriorate a little bit more. And when you're facing the likes of Wyoming, that's not what you want to be doing in this case.
Dr. Depression staying alive in these boxes. You finally get a player on, but solution cleaned up by Arctos. CSUN finally getting some map control here, some presence on the point. What they don't account for is the flank, so they are taking off this A site back into their spawns, getting progression from the B side of the map, but you're not able to stay alive now. You're down to 5 seconds. You have to touch down on this point, or else you're going to be losing on this first initial attack. And honestly, really not a whole lot to be had from this either, from your attack. So you're just looking for something here. Arctos up close and personal. The flood from each side from Wyoming, taking them off. The time's going to tick down. That's a strong defensive round from the University of Wyoming.
Oh man, I mean, CSUN, they had so much promise there towards the end. I mean, right there, we saw a strong start from these guys charging right up there in the mid, trying to get on that B site, but we didn't see enough guys on the site to actually, I mean, do these guys, somebody needs to let them know that the more guys you have on that point, the quicker it's going to go. And I mean, it's going to buff out the time. Obviously, you want to sit there and have a guy patrolling around. You want to have these flanks. You want to have these guys allocated different sides of the map and, you know, get time on both areas, but you also want to try and stack up a site. You want to get it, and you want to go ahead and make sure you lock down the extra 60 seconds. And when you're not working towards that, and you seem a little bit iffy on both sides of the map and not really sure where to go, that lack of communication, once again, that we mentioned so many times already, that's just going to sit there and kill you, especially in control, where it's like hard point and search and destroy in an aspect, and they have to find a way to be a little bit quicker. And I feel like that's what's going to kill them in this match.
Look at this break already from Wyoming. Solution's the only one alive for the Matadors in the backline. They know exactly where he is. They're going to watch it. Working on that second tick of progression here. Razzle Dazzle is out of his mind right now. Momentous 8-3 right now with this Krieg showing up in this map 3. They're going to take A site without contention. And now looking to convert back to the B site. Arctos going to be pushing these spawns. Doesn't check his corner. CSUN gaining some leverage in this gunfight. And taking down 2 players.
I mean, just look how these guys are stacked up. You obviously saw that Razzle and you had Yeti also over there just stacking on top of that A site, finding ways to play into each other, being a team and trying to get that progression to stack more. Meanwhile, that first round we saw CSUN just trying to get guys on, allocating it out, switching it out, playing a little game of rotations, and that alone, I mean, it's great in hard point, but you don't sit there. You need to constantly have an idea of 2 guys being the killers, 2 guys being on time and finding those points and splitting that up. And we just don't see enough of that, this diversity. We don't see enough teams really specializing in their areas. And these guys on CSUN just aren't playing their specialized roles enough to really let them highlight themselves. And that alone is really what's just killing them right now and gave up such an easy site, with Iguana just able to play these kids up right now and get on this B site and play around it.
Starting to seek out for some more progression. Don't expect Shake and Bake to be this close. And he's cleaned up from Razzle inside this plane. 3 players go down. Only the last one Solution once again. A full 4 wipe. Now it's time to take that real estate. Start gaining progression on this B side. Working on that second tick of progression. The Flood is a must from Matadors right now. Wyoming on the brink of an attacking win. They catch out Shake and Bake. Arctos for that swing. Dr. Depression trying to stay alive for his team, but is too good right now. The map control of the Wyoming Esports squad. As they take an attacking round, they go up 2-0 in this control, and looking so good right now. Even Razzle Dazzle starting to wake up.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are really just, I mean, Razzle, we've spotlighted him all game so far, but I mean, really in this control, he's finally stepping up. He's just going off. I mean, he's showing he's king with the Necro King skin. I mean, he's sitting there showing that he deserves to be here, and he's overall just really killing it when it comes around to control. And I feel like in part that's because CSUN is just kind of funneling into these sites, because you look at that right there in the very end where we had that B site, for example, when you had Shake and Bake trying to contest that site, being on it, he didn't have any really capitalization from his teammates, any real support allow him to win that 2v1, because you know Wyoming's going to be a little bit better about stacking these spots, and you didn't have Dr. Depression there just yet to help him with that contestation. And just funneling in there allowed these guys to just clip them off 2v1s all around.
We talk about the trades and control going into the favor of Wyoming, able to take some progression and an aggressive angle for this defense. Setting up for the spawn trap. Arctos misses out on that player in yellow. They're able to get a few kills. Matadors breaking out of their spawn. Now, that plane control is their next topic. Oh, what a shot from Shake and Bake to get rid of Iguana. And there's the mid control in the form of Solution.
And Solution really could have just provided one right there. He could push up towards spawn in this kind of scenario and try to capitalize on this, but he just didn't really manipulate all that much. He didn't really try and play into it and push through the plane all that well. I mean, obviously you want to get that control, you want to get that influence towards these points. But, I mean, like we said earlier, these guys, you don't have enough teammates there to really play with, and you're just kind of watching empty space. And what good does that do you? You want to put pressure onto these spawns. You want to play these guys a little bit more, scare them a little bit, have that intimidation factor play into your favor. And I don't feel like CSUN has enough plays going on right now, especially with 23 seconds left on the clock and being down a couple lives. That's not helping anybody's case.
A few kills go in the favor of Matadors, but yet he's in their spawn. Fighting out from Wyoming. Clears the site. Time's taken once again. Solution's going to be taking this fight onto Yeti around the corner. He peeks right into this Craig. Second one up's Russ. What a win from Yeti. 2 kills go down. And this is a must for the Matadors to touch onto this A site, get some progression. They walk right into Arctos. He's keeping him really steady and checks. They wipe the floor of him. It does look like Wyoming's going to go home with this 3-0. They just need one more wipe from this team. They got the life control. Wyoming just around the corner. Russ fights out to keep Matadors alive. Big wins from the Matadors right now, and they're looking for progression at A.
Oh,
1.5 seconds, and Dr. Depression's keeping them in this mix. The streak's alive as well.
Oh,
they go down. The time's going to take out Wyoming with the hot 3-0 on the night. A big win on Control.
Oh, man, that could have been a lot more interesting. CSUN could have kept that alive. But when you see Solution, these guys, you see Russ right here just... I mean, he's already died on that crate before. He knows he can get penetrated in it. You need to go ahead and go prone right there. Find a way to just lay it out. Because we saw the lives were sitting at 6 and 8 right there. I mean, these guys could have closed it out either way. Whoever just played the kills right there at the end, as long as they just maintained some pressure on the sites. But they just didn't get around to doing it. They were, once again, funneling onto the sites. And that's just not what you want to do. I mean, I get we're college kids and we love a good old funnel. But, I mean... this isn't the appropriate environment, guys. I mean, these guys just need to find a way to put themselves onto the map, put pressure everywhere. And when you only have one guy that's not really giving you enough to work with to really play off things. And I feel like CSUN, they're a really good team and they have a lot of potential, but they just got to be on lock with each other. They need to go out and take a bite with each other, go out to lunch or something, play a little bit more league play and just kind of refine themselves a little because I mean, there just seems to be something missing in that communication link.
Well, with that victory, though, from Wyoming, Mick, they pop up and they're tied for that 3rd place spot in the relegation of the bottom cut. So they're kind of popping themselves into a comfortable position for next week. Looking at them to kind of hold tight to that. A very strong showing right now against CSUN Matadors. We've seen a game 5 today. We've seen 2 3-0s. It's been quite the day of Call of Duty, but everything must come to an end from now. So, I mean, the Bravo stream's been quite the game. And talk about it a little bit. How'd you feel about that first match today?
I mean, I love the first match. I got to say that one went to game 5. It was good. But, I mean, you know, obviously everything has its pros and cons to it because I always enjoy casting with you because I know it's been a minute here on the desk to be alongside you. So it's been an honor for these past 2 games.
It's been quite the day, definitely. I love the sites that I've seen, and tomorrow College COD Bravo stream will be right back. For now, we are going to host over to that Alpha stream. Visions and I Hold Shift are going to be carrying away with it. The Bravo stream will be back tomorrow night, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned for some more College COD action. We'll be back soon.